It was a bustling evening at one of the most prestigious five-star restaurants in the heart of Los Angeles. The kind of place known for catering to the elite, wealthy entrepreneurs, celebrities, Hollywood producers, and high-profile politicians. The atmosphere inside exuded luxury in every detail. Giant crystal chandeliers cast a soft golden glow over tables draped in crisp white linens, adorned with fine porcelain dinnerware and polished silver cutlery. Each table featured a fresh flower arrangement, trimmed and arranged with utmost care. Soft jazz music floated through the air, blending with the low murmur of conversations and the gentle clinking of fine wine glasses. The patrons were impeccably dressed. The men wore tailored suits, shiny leather shoes, and watches that spoke of power and wealth. The women donned elegant evening gowns, with sparkling diamond necklaces and earrings that caught the light at every turn. They chatted, laughed, and reveled in the exclusivity of this world, a world of status and prestige. Then the restaurant's large glass door swung open, and a man stepped inside. He wore a plain light gray t-shirt, faded jeans, and white sneakers that had clearly seen better days. A black baseball cap was pulled low over his head, partially hiding hair that was starting to show streaks of gray. No one in the restaurant recognized him. To them, he was just another underdressed, out-of-place guest in this lavish setting. But that man was none other than David Beckham. Former soccer superstar, fashion icon, successful businessman, and a face beloved by millions around the world. Yet in that moment, Beckham wasn't a sports hero, a model on magazine covers, or a high-powered entrepreneur. He was simply a man seeking a quiet meal after a long day. Beckham stepped inside with a calm, gentle demeanor, his eyes scanning the room for an empty table tucked away in a corner where he could sit unnoticed. But the diners quickly took note of his presence. Some glanced at him from head to toe with judgment in their eyes. A few smirked and exchanged glances with their companions as if silently commenting on how out of place he looked. Before Beckham could reach a table, a waitress hurried over and blocked his path. Her name was Amanda, mid-20s, blonde hair tied neatly in a high ponytail, crisp uniform, sharp features, and a cool, composed expression. She took great pride in working at one of LA's top establishments, a place she believed should only welcome those who belonged. Amanda gave Beckham a once-over, her gaze unapologetically critical. Her voice was even but cold, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. "I'm sorry, sir. The restaurant is fully booked tonight. Do you have a reservation?" Beckham offered a polite, warm smile, his voice low and steady. "I don't have a reservation, but I noticed there are a few empty tables in that corner. I was hoping to sit down for a quiet dinner." Amanda glanced briefly toward where Beckham pointed, then returned her gaze with thinly veiled disdain. "We have a dress code here. This isn't the kind of place that can serve just anyone dressed like that." Her words cut through the sophisticated air like a knife. A few patrons near them tried to suppress amused grins. Others shook their heads subtly in disapproval. The curious stares had now shifted to looks of open judgment. Beckham remained composed, showing no sign of anger. He simply nodded slightly, ready to turn away and leave quietly, avoiding a scene. But just then, a voice rang out from near the bar, strained, panicked. "My wallet. I've lost my wallet." A well-dressed but not overly flashy middle-aged man was patting his pockets, his face pale, his hands trembling as he frantically searched around his table. All eyes turned toward the man. But still no one moved. A few patrons frowned, annoyed at the disruption. Amanda barely glanced over, indifferent. Only Beckham couldn't stand by and watch. He approached the distressed man, knelt down, and began helping him look. "Don't worry. I'm sure we'll find it." They searched for several minutes, but the wallet didn't turn up. The man looked on the verge of tears, humiliated and panicked. Beckham placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder and offered a small, kind smile. "Let me take care of your dinner tonight. We all have tough days sometimes." The man opened his mouth to thank him, but Amanda stepped in, her voice sharp, dripping with sarcasm. You're offering to pay? Are you sure you can cover your own bill before offering to pay for someone else's?" Her words echoed through the room like a slap. The once warm, elegant atmosphere felt cold and uncomfortable. Beckham said nothing. He simply met Amanda's gaze with sad, disappointed eyes and let out a soft sigh. Amanda's words sliced through the elegant atmosphere like a blade. No one was smiling anymore. Only a heavy, awkward silence filled the room and uncomfortable glances flickered from face to face. David Beckham stood there, his eyes as gentle as ever, but now filled with a deep, quiet sadness. It wasn't sadness for himself. It was sadness for the way people could be so quick to judge and dismiss someone based solely on a simple outfit. While Amanda held her ground, seemingly confident in what she'd said. Someone else could no longer stay silent. Kevin, the young intern at the restaurant, a passionate soccer fan, stepped forward. He had recognized that face, that posture, almost immediately. His heart raced as he became certain. That man was David Beckham, the very icon who had once adorned posters on his childhood bedroom walls. Without hesitation, Kevin hurried over, his voice bursting out. "Amanda, do you know who that is? That's David Beckham." Kevin's words hit the silence like a bolt of lightning. Amanda froze, eyes wide. In her mind, her harsh words echoed loud and clear. "Are you sure you can cover your own bill before offering to pay for someone else's?" Her face drained of color. Sweat dotted her forehead despite the cool air. She stammered, I didn't know. If I had known, I wouldn't have." Beckham gently raised a hand, his voice calm and warm. "You don't need to know who I am to treat me with respect." The entire restaurant fell still. Those judgmental stares from moments before now looked downward, ashamed. At that moment, the restaurant manager, Richard, hurried out, alerted by the commotion. The moment he saw Beckham, Richard froze, then quickly bowed his head. "Mr. Beckham, I am truly sorry for what just happened. Please allow us to offer tonight's meal as our sincere apology." Beckham looked at him, then let his gaze travel slowly across the room, meeting the eyes of those who had sized him up just minutes before, eyes now filled with regret. His words came slowly, each one landing like a stone. "I didn't come here for a free meal. I just wanted a quiet dinner. But now I see that even here, I have to prove who I am to be treated with basic respect." No one spoke. Richard lowered his head further, Amanda's tears streamed down, and Beckham nodded softly to Kevin in thanks. Then, without another word, he turned and began to walk toward the door. Just before he reached it, a quivering voice called out, "Mr. Beckham." An elderly woman, small and frail, stood from a nearby table. She dabbed a tear from her cheek, her voice thick with emotion. "I cried tears of joy for your goals. Tonight I cry because of the lesson you've given us all." And like dominoes, one by one, the diners rose from their seats. Applause filled the air, hesitant at first, then genuine, heartfelt. They weren't clapping for the soccer star, but for the man who had just taught them something far more valuable. Beckham paused, glanced back at the room, offered a gentle smile, nodded, and stepped outside, leaving behind a space heavy with reflection. David Beckham stepped out of the restaurant. The heavy glass door closed slowly behind him, but the echo of what had just happened lingered like a silent storm that had swept through that elegant space. He didn't say another word. He didn't ask for a public apology, didn't demand any kind of compensation, and offered no harsh words. His steps on the stone sidewalk seemed to remind everyone left behind that true lessons about respect don't need to be loud. Inside the restaurant, the air was still heavy. No one returned to their meal. Expensive wine glasses sat untouched. Gourmet dishes grew cold. Everyone was lost in a sea of emotions: shame, regret, reflection. Richard, the manager, took a deep breath. He looked at his staff with serious eyes and spoke firmly. "Everyone into the break room. We need to talk now." In the small break room, no one could meet Richard's gaze. Arms crossed, his voice was low but resolute. "Can anyone tell me what just happened here?" Silence filled the space. Finally, Amanda spoke, her voice shaky. "I was wrong. We were wrong. I let someone's appearance decide how I treated them." Kevin added gently, eyes resting on a small framed motto on the wall. "We forgot that everyone deserves kindness no matter who they are, what they wear, or how much they have." Richard nodded, voice softer now. "I hope today becomes a lesson none of us will ever forget." The next morning, Amanda arrived before anyone else. Sitting alone in the break room, she stared at a blank sheet of paper. Slowly, she wrote each word as if engraving them into her heart. "Respect everyone. You never know who's standing in front of you." She taped the paper to the kitchen door, where every staff member would see it before starting their shift. Each time they passed, they paused, letting the simple words sink in. Richard saw the sign, said nothing at first, but later ordered a wooden plaque to be made, beautifully engraved with the same message, and hung it at the restaurant's main entrance. Beckham never spoke of what happened. He simply went home as he would any normal day. But the diners who witnessed it couldn't forget. They shared it with family, friends, and soon the story spread across social media. Posts poured in. Beckham's greatest goal wasn't scored on the field. It was scored in that moment he taught us all how to see with our hearts. Today, I learned never to judge someone by how they look. Because in doing so, you reveal more about yourself than about them. That night, at home, Beckham opened a drawer and took out an old, faded photo. A young David with sun-bleached hair, freckles across his cheeks, wearing a worn t-shirt, standing proudly between his parents, smiling wide. He stared at it for a long time, memories flooding back. He whispered, "My mother always said, no one's so rich they don't need to learn respect, and no one's so poor they don't deserve it." From that day, Amanda changed. Every guest who walked through the doors, whether an old woman in worn sandals or a young man in a plain t-shirt, was greeted with the same warm smile. The restaurant, once famous for its luxury, became known for its kindness. And it all began on a quiet evening when a simply dressed man walked in, hoping only for a peaceful meal. Months later, a diner who'd been there that night returned, paused at the wooden plaque, and said to his companion, "This right here is Beckham's greatest goal."